Part 2. Building the New Government. 1781 to 1800. In this period, Americans struggled to build a government that is strong enough to work, but not so strong that it threatens their freedom. Here are the events. Event 1. The Articles of Confederation. 1781. This was the first plan of government. It was weak on purpose, because Americans feared a strong government like Britain's. It did do one big thing well. The Northwest Ordinance set up a fair way to turn Western lands into new states, and it banned slavery in that Northwest territory. But overall the Articles were too weak. The government couldn't collect taxes or keep order. A farmers' uprising called Shays' Rebellion proved the government couldn't even keep the peace. These failures created a need for something stronger, which leads to the next event. Event 2. The Constitution and its Compromises. 1787. This is another of your 5 tentpole dates. Leaders wrote a brand new, stronger plan, the Constitution. But to get every state to agree, they had to make compromises. The biggest argument was about representation in Congress. Big states wanted seats based on population. Small states wanted equal seats. The Great Compromise solved it by creating a Congress with 2 houses. Here is the clear way to remember it. In the Senate, every state is equal with 2 seats each, no matter how big or small. In the House of Representatives, seats are based on population, so states with more people get more seats. There was also a darker compromise, the 3/5 Compromise, which counted each enslaved person as 3/5 of a person for population. That shows slavery was built into the government from the very start, and it foreshadows the conflict to come. Here's a question. How are seats decided in the Senate, and how are they decided in the House? Answer out loud now. Here's the answer. In the Senate, every state gets the same number, 2 seats each. In the House, seats are based on each state's population. The Constitution did more than settle representation. It set up the key principles, our next section. Event 3. The key principles of the Constitution. The Constitution created 3 branches of government. Congress makes the laws. The President carries them out. The courts decide what they mean. Splitting power this way is called separation of powers. Letting each branch limit the others is called checks and balances. And sharing power between the national government and the states is called federalism. Here's a Regents alert. If a question asks how the Constitution stops any one person or group from gaining too much power, think separation of powers and checks and balances. Here's a question. Name one constitutional principle and explain what it does. Answer out loud now. Here's a sample answer. Checks and balances lets each branch limit the others. Or, separation of powers splits the government into 3 branches. Or, federalism shares power between the national and state governments. Any one of those explained correctly is great. Not everyone trusted this new government, which brings us to the next event. Event 4. Federalists, Anti-Federalists, and the Bill of Rights. 1791. Federalists wanted a strong national government, and they argued for it in famous essays called the Federalist Papers. Anti-Federalists feared the government would grow too powerful and crush people's freedoms. To win them over, leaders promised to add the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. These protect freedoms like speech, religion, and the right to a fair trial. So the Bill of Rights exists because the Anti-Federalists demanded it. The last event of this period set the example for all future presidents. Event 5. Washington sets precedents. 1789 to 1797. George Washington was the first president, and he set examples called precedents for the future. He created the Cabinet of Advisors and chose to serve only 2 terms. When farmers refused to pay a federal tax in the Whiskey Rebellion, Washington led troops to enforce the law, proving the new government, unlike the old Articles, could actually keep order. And in his farewell address, he warned the country to avoid political parties and to stay out of permanent alliances with other nations. That warning about staying out of foreign affairs comes back later in our story. Quick recap of Part 2. The weak Articles failed, so the Constitution of 1787 created a stronger government, built on compromises and balanced by separation of powers, checks and balances, and federalism, with the Bill of Rights protecting individual freedoms and Washington setting the precedents that guided every president after him.